So I am John Zabilski, a Principal Customer Success Specialist, and also a registered U.S. patent agent. I actually am in the United States, close to your Cincinnati site in Columbus, Ohio. I've actually been to the Cincinnati site for training a few times over the years. So today we're going to talk about SciFinder-n, the newest member to our SciFinder product family. All right, here we go. And so one of the main questions I get when I'm doing training for SciFinder-n is what's different from the SciFinder Classic platform you may be used to. So I created this slide here that talks about all the major differences. One thing to keep in mind, SciFinder-n is a new interface that we built from the ground up, going back to the original content and build a new platform to make it easier to use, to get you to the results quicker, and that, of course, saves you time. So some of the major enhancements and differences, again, are listed on this slide. So one of them is relevance ranking of references. What that means is if you do a reference search, it's going to place the best answers at the top of the list. You can also find terms by using the auto-suggest. Whether you type in a substance name or a keyword, it's going to find it and it's going to suggest terms for you, which you can select from that list as well. We do also provide multi-tab browsing, which means when you do get results and maybe you have substances associated with a reference or reaction, you can actually load that into a separate tab, or in fact, a separate browser window. You also can run a simultaneous search. If you come across something interesting, you can run another search without losing your original search. As part of SciFinder-n, you also have unlimited access to our patent pack tool. That gets you to the full text PDFs of patents and also includes what we call the patent pack viewer. And the viewer will have the substances that we've indexed. They'll be shown in a viewer window, and you can select from those to go immediately to the location in the full text of the patent where that particular substance occurs. We also have links to two other CAS solutions. These are standalone solutions, but you do get limited information within SciFinder-n. And then if you have access to the solutions, you can use links to get the full detail. Those are based on analytical chemistry, so you have methods now analysis, and also one for formulation information, which we call formulas. I will demo those during today's session. For structure-based searching, you do have access to all the structure searching capabilities you are used to from the Classic platform. So you can do a substructure search, or you can do a similarity search. A new feature we've added is a simultaneous text and structure search. You can search a structure along with some associated text. We've also added displays of the actual generic Marcouche structures that are found in patent documents. So you can view those and select from those. For reaction information, we've gathered the reactions together into schemes. So the schemes essentially are the same starting materials going to your product. So you can search through those a lot quicker. You can find the ones that are of most interest faster. We also do have unlimited access now to the methods now synthesis protocols, where we went back and indexed the journal articles with step-by-step experimental procedures. We do have a tool for reaction planning we call retrosynthesis, and most recently we added a predictive element to that, which means that I can actually create a reaction plan for a novel compound. In all cases, you will see a history, and the history will show you your past searches. And with one click, you can rerun any search that you've run in the past. And so lots of great new features in SciFinder-n. I'm hoping everyone has at least had a chance to try it. But it's not, you can see here, it has a different address we're seeing here. One nice thing about SciFinder is it keeps you signed in. So once you put your username and password, check the box that says keep me signed in, you'll never have to enter your username or password again. That's a very nice feature that you do have. Now, if you've never been on SciFinder-n, you can actually get to SciFinder-n from our home page. So this is the cas.org page. I'm actually on the support section talking about SciFinder training. There's some additional training resources there, but I also wanted to call attention to our webinar program. So we've been running webinars on a regular basis now. And so if you have an interest in attending one of these webinars that are coming up, we just did one yesterday on IP. These are recorded after we present. At the end of this list, you can find the recordings as well. So here we see the recordings from the past one. So another nice option you have. Like I said, you can get into SciFinder-n for the first time. So you can go in here and select SciFinder-n, and that will take you into the SciFinder-n platform. Here you can see I have a couple tabs actually on SciFinder-n right now. Now, you'll have the three main ways of searching you're used to from SciFinder Classic over on the left-hand side. So you can still search by substance name or CAS registry number. You can look for reaction information, or you can look for references using keywords or substance names as well. Now, we've added two new tabs. I'm going to demonstrate the new tabs first, and then we'll look at examples of all the other types of ways of starting a search. Okay? To begin with, we'll have the All tab. All searches across all the databases behind the scenes in SciFinder-n. So depending on what you enter, whether it's a keyword or a substance name, registry number, patent number, it's going to look in the databases and find related information. So I'm going to put in a common flavoring, which you're probably familiar with, the vanillin. They put that in there and they run a search on vanillin. And it's going to search across all the databases. Of course, it's going to find a substance record, as we see here, along with its structure. It's here there's some associated information with this particular substance as well. Now, it's actually picking up a few more substances, and you can see the total number is 12. It shows the first couple, and then it shows some additional ones. So, in fact, there are some vanillin entries. Most of these are trade name registrations where it's indicating in the text vanillin is present. Of course, we're interested in the structure one. It's going to show a couple representative reactions. And so in this first example, we see scheme 1 consists of 6 reactions. So 6 reactions with the same starting material. Scheme 2 shows you 8. And you could expand these schemes, and we'll look at reactions a little bit later. If you like, you can view all the reactions at this point. It'll show the first couple preferred references, as we see here, vanillin showing up prominently in the title and in the text. In all cases, it's also going to include the registry number. You can actually load this into a new tab and view it up there as well. And then we have supplier's information. We can go purchase this particular substance. Shows, again, the first couple, but you can view them all. And we can always get back to the top of the page with this up arrow. And over here, you can also see a breakdown of what's available for this particular substance across the various databases. You can use these links, of course, to get to all that information as well. Now, to go back to the front page, I can say return to home, and we can start a new search. So we're going to go down and take a look at a supplier search. So what's nice about this is you can look for supplier information, starting material, flavoring, something you're interested in ordering and buying from someone. And I can type this in here. I'm just looking for very common citric acid. As I type, you can see down here you are seeing some variations of that. So if you're interested in something that's not just citric acid, but an ester or some kind of salt structure of interest that includes citric acid, you can select it from this drop-down list if you like. Otherwise, you can go and run the search. And this is going to look a lot like the SciFinder Classic. So you're going to see the suppliers listed in sort of a spreadsheet fashion, as we see here. You do have filters on the left-hand side. I like to describe filters as being a combination of analyze and refine. So you can view an analysis, and then you can select to filter down the desired selection from each one of those filters. There's some differences. In fact, some of these are some variation on citric acid, so you can filter down to just citric acid. You can look for the purity. We can order based on quantity. So most of the suppliers will have access immediately to smaller quantities, kilograms or less, but you can also look for a bulk quote. And then you have additional information about how long they take typically to ship, whether they have it in stock, whether you can order directly on their page, so select, and also the country where you can order from. The listing for these, you can view them all here if you like. So some European countries, of course, the US and some Asian countries are listed. So in all cases, we're seeing what's available here, what additional details. We can also go to the supplier page. See some additional information, including how to order this particular substance, safety data sheets, and whatever available on that supplier page. We could also request a bulk quote here, if you like, indicate a quantity of interest. Let me just bring this smaller here so I can get to my tabs up here. There we go. There also is a preference system. This is your own ranking. You do a thumbs up or thumbs down now in SciFinder-n. So if I'm coming across one and I really like this particular supplier, I can give them a thumbs up. That means they will appear at the top of the list when I view these in the future. If I dislike one, I can give them a thumbs down. It might just because of the location. It actually won't drop this particular listing. It will just show it at the end of the listing in the future. Okay. In all cases, you can download these. So you do have a couple options, PDF, as well as the Excel, which you might like from the Classic. And you can also share, in many cases, in all cases where you have results, you're going to have a download capability and a sharing capability. So just create an email, put a link in there. Now, you could send this off maybe to your purchasing group to order in some suggestions. We go back to running SciFinder search here on the front page. All right, so we're going to start with a reference-based search. So in this case, I'm going to look at a topic that I noticed is a fairly recent topic concerning fragrance encapsulation. So we're going to take a look at that. So go ahead and just enter that in here. And as I start to type, we're going to see some terms show up. If I see the term of interest, I can grab it from the list. Continue on. And sometimes the terms you'll see are going to be in here. If they're not, they still might be available in the database, but more common ones are going to show up as we see here. Now, a new capability added to SciFinder-n is the ability to search with Boolean operators. So you could use natural language like we did in SciFinder Classic and use prepositions to combine together main concepts, but a more precise way is actually using the AND. So the AND will insist that your terms are available in every record rather than one of the words in your multi-phrase term. So it's a little bit more precise. I'm going to run this search, but another precision tool you do have is you can use double quotes around a phrase. So if you wanted every particular record to have fabric softener in it, you could put a double quote around that, and it would have that phrase in every answer. It would be in the text of the search for reference searching would be the title word, the abstracts, and the indexing. Okay, so but in this case, I'm just going to run it without the quotes. It is actually searching our CA Plus database of bibliographic information. It also is searching the Medline database. What's different now in SciFinder-n, you might find Medline records are at the top of the list rather than at the bottom. In all cases, you can scroll down and find records that are available in your database. Depending on the topic you choose, you're going to get more Medline records. In this case, of course, I'm not getting very many. I am seeing there are some. The other thing that's different, as we mentioned earlier, is your records are now arranged in relevance order. You do still have an option to put the newest ones at the top if you like, for the one that is most highly cited. But by default, it's going to show the most relevant ones, so it's not going to be the most recent. Here we're seeing something from 2014. And it's going to base its decision on what's relevant, on the terms, the location of the terms, the frequency of the terms, and the proximity of each of the terms. You also might notice it is still looking for synonyms, so it has the term fragrance highlighted, synonym, perfume highlighted as a synonym for fragrance. Similar to the suppliers, we do have filters here on the left-hand side to control and refine my search. Again, we see the analysis, and then we can refine based on that if we like. So these, most of the filters are ones that you're used to. They're a little bit different in the way you apply them. There actually are a couple new ones, so we'll look at those first. So one of them is available at my institution. This will actually show those journal articles you have access to as a full text. So for me, that would be ACS journals. So the first one I'm seeing is ACS Applied Materials and Interfaces. It's actually one of the Medline records as well. And I can go get the full text here as a DOI. Now that's going to take me to the publisher site. We see here the ACS Pub, and it gives me the full text of this particular article, all the figures, the diagrams, all the text. So very nice, convenient option if you have that subscription to that particular publisher. Now this is an interesting record. I'm going to display the full display here. If I click on the title to get the full reference detail. You're going to see the title and the abstract and some figures. But this is actually one of our combined records. So this is one that shows up both in CA Plus as well as Medline. What's nice about this is, of course, I'm going to see the CAS indexing, so the indexing terms that are added here in Columbus in most cases. And of course, we're highlighting terms that are determined to be relevant for this topic. We're also going to see the Medline medical subject heading, or MESH as they're more commonly known. And of course, we're going to see substances as well. So what are the compounds in this particular document? And of course, we started out looking for this type of information, and this is where I discovered, yeah, vanillin is a common ingredient here, even for fragrances as well as flavors. All right, so if I wanted to, I can return to home. That would actually reset my search. So in fact, I can use the left arrow to go back to a previous search. It's taking me back a step. So the left arrow in SciFinder in the browser window will work now in SciFinder-n. So let's take a look at the other new addition we have to filters, and that's CAS Solutions. So under CAS Solutions, I do have access now to both methods now analysis as well as formulas in this example. What's nice about the filters is you can go up and down and view if you have any still applied or not. Okay. To double check here. I'm going to select methods now analysis. What's going to happen is you're going to see you're going to get access to a analytical record, so something from a journal article that focuses on analysis. And you can see the additional tab here, or link here. It's going to take you to methods now analysis. So that includes a little bit of description of the analysis method right here, the relevant one that might be of interest. So this is what you would see in SciFinder-n. So you get a little bit of information here. Of course, at this point, your only recourse would be to go to the full text. But if you did have access to methods now analysis, you could click on the link. That would show you the full detail of this particular analytical record. So you can see a lot more information is included, the various substances that are being analyzed, the matrix that they're in, quite a few of these in this record, additional materials and reagents. If there's a structure involved and you want to view that, you can always view it here on the fly. Nice feature. Source and abstract, the equipment, the conditions, and then a step-by-step procedure for the analysis of this particular compound, including validation information. So if you're into analytical chemistry, this is a great resource to have access to. So I'm back to this record. I'm back to my results here. So I'll remove that particular option. So give you a quick demo here of formulas. in formulas is giving you access to formulation information. I can select all the records that have formulation information here. That's a nice refinement tool if you're interested in formulations. And you can see a lot of the titles are talking about some kind of composition. They also do have formulation purpose that you can use to make it a bit more specific if you like. So in fact, we do have formulation purpose for fabric softeners, so we'll select that. Now we have access to those records that have additional formulation information. They could be both patent and non-patent. So we see here a European patent here at the top. And I can scroll down here and view ones that look interesting. And then at some point, I can view additional details. So if I'm looking at additional details on this case, what I would do is select the title, be back to the full detail like we viewed earlier. And down here, there's a new section now for formulation. And so here you can view some of the formulation information. So they'll show you a little bit of it in SciFinder-n, but there's going to be more detail when you view that in the Formulas standalone product. So here we see some substances are involved, and there's a note here saying there's additional components. To view those, you would have access, detailed access to formulas. So in formulas, it goes on for a little bit longer with those particular ingredients from the formulation. In other cases, you're going to see here one for powder detergent. Here we see a little bit. And again, to view more, I have to go through the full formulas. This one's interesting because it does include some experimental activity as well. It's a lot of information that's included. Other cases, you might see some procedural information as well. We'll come back to that full set, and we'll remove that particular filter. We mentioned patent pack, so let's take a look at a patent pack example. What I can do, of course, is filter down to patent as a document type. And actually, I'll have to turn this filter back off. So we'll get the full set now. You see a few more. You could also filter by language if you like. So I'm going to go ahead and filter by English. This, of course, is the original language of the document. You might have noticed a publication year trend chart that we see here. So I can make that a bit bigger. So you can kind of view the trend here. Of course, this is a more recent topic of encapsulation. I can even use this as a way to filter down based on year if I like. A nice visual way of doing that. If you prefer, you could also just type in the numbers here as well. And at some point, if you want to reset, there's the option to reset to get the full range. All right, so we focus down to a particular date of interest. And since these are all patents, in all cases, we're going to see patent pack links here. This will be a drop-down menu. On that drop-down menu, it's going to show you access to additional information. So the PDF, full text searchable, searchable PDF, you can see for all the publications in this case. And then there will be records that were indexed, the ones that we index, which typically show at the first line of the patent family table, are going to have additional options, which include the PDF Plus, which is a downloadable option, and the viewer. And the viewer is going to get you to the substance information. On this particular record, we have a European patent, and we also have a U.S. filing. So we in fact have two options for viewing what was included in those particular publications. In many cases, when we have a national filing and a corresponding WO filing, we also would have a duplicate record, in fact, a separate record where we've indexed specifically what was covered in that particular publication. So get a little more information about the various members of the patent family. Again, as a reminder, if I was in the full record, you would see the patent family here as well. So in the front page, we're seeing those that have access to PDFs. Here we're seeing the full family. So there are some that do not have PDFs. Another nice option we have with PatentPack is we come across a substance of interest, so maybe this particular polymer. You can get to the exact location in the full text if you click on PatentPack. That's going to take me here into the example section. Here we can see the polymer described in text, and this violet tag is the active tag here. In other cases, over here on the left in the viewer, we're seeing structure. So if it's a single component substance, a structural display, if it's a multi-component, you're going to see a name. But in all cases, you can click on the registry number link here, and that will take you to the substance details so you can view the structures there. It's just that it would be too difficult to put them all in the viewer, but you do have a quick, easy access to them this way. And this works in both directions. So if I see something up here, I'm not exactly sure what it is, I can click on it, and it will show me it over on this side. So it actually looks like a multi-component, but it's what we call incompletely defined substance, where this group is attached somewhere on the ring, but we're not exactly sure where. So anyways, that's what that looks like. So this, of course, is interactive. You have to be logged into SciFinder-n to use it. But if you like, you can do the download of the PDF Plus. It includes, of course, the full text PDF, which is searchable, and also the substance table, which we see begins at the end here on page 31. If you like, you can just scroll to the end here to see the substance table. So here it is. In all cases, you're going to see the markup number, the page numbers where that substance appears, the CAS registry number, the structure, I'm sorry, the name and the structure. There's the name and the structure here. And we can scroll up into the text, get past the figures here. And you can see the markup numbers are represented here. So you can find them easily in the full text document. So a nice takeaway here using PatentPack. What I'm going to do, I think, is close down a few of these tabs and keep track of what I'm doing. Some good housekeeping suggestions. Go back down to that one. Okay, there are a few other filters. Just point to these. So you can get access to the person name. This would be either the inventor, if I focus it down to just patents, or authors, so non-patent literature. We also have the organization name here showing up, so you see some of your competitors there. The publication name, now when I focus down to patents, are going to be the actual patent offices. So I can filter down to those. It also includes the defensive publication, IP.com, the journal. We do include research disclosures, but that's only up to 2006 when a particular publisher would stop sharing the information with us. So it is there for background. The concepts are indexing. That's added by our editors here in Columbus and other places around the world. But they'll add some precise terms that you can use to focus in on the topic of interest. You do also have a search within option where you could type in some text if you're looking for it in the free text. Was there a question?
Sorry to interrupt. I had a quick question. Is there language translation tools within this? Or if there's patents in a separate language, you're just able to get the original document and that's it?
There is no language translation tools within SciFinder-n. So yeah, when I use the PatentPack and it's a Chinese patent, it's going to be in Chinese. Yeah, the only option, sometimes I'll show this, but you can obviously copy a block of text and paste it into a translation tool such as Google, do that translation. What's nice though about with PatentPack, if there's any structural images, it will show those. But in many cases, of course, the compound might be named instead. But if you look at the viewer, you can see the structures. So it gives you a capability to view the structures, even though they do not appear in the actual document. So at least gives you the idea if it's worth translating the document or not by viewing those substitutes in PatentPack. So it's a nice addition that we have.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so a couple housekeeping options you have up here. We kind of mentioned a few of these. Of course, you can always go get substances, reactions, and citations here, similar to the classic. You can also select records that you like, include them. I'll just grab a couple. You can download. So you have a number of download options here as well. So you can do PDF or Citation Manager RIS format. You can add spreadsheet, which is Excel. You can download directly to the spreadsheet now, rather than having to use like quoted or tag format, but have those if you like, you need those. And of course, we also have rich text format, which would download these into a Word document that you can view and edit. Now, we've also added some additional information here. And so by default, you're seeing what we refer to as the result summary, which is basically just a little bit of text, bibliographic information in the abstract. But if you want, you can actually get additional details, and you can select exactly what you want. So if you want to include the indexing terms, you can add that, or you just want the list of substances, or you want some of that added information on formulations or analytical methods, you could add that as well. So a couple options that you have there. You also have the option to share. Again, this would put a live link into an email that you can send to a colleague. The advantage of that, of course, is they can do the searching, they can get that answer set, they can filter it, they can focus it, they can find related information, so preferable maybe to an actual download. And then, of course, you can save. When you click on Save, what it's going to do is it's going to provide a couple options. Of course, I'll provide a name, so we'll just call this Fabric. You'll have to select frequency. We do have the option now as available, and the database gets updated a few times a week now. Or you can go weekly or monthly. You can add a tag here, sort of like your private folders or holding places for references. You even added some color coding to the tags if you wanted to do that. Otherwise, you can save this. Now, when I do the save, it's going to show up here that I've done it, and the last one that I saved is showing up at the top here. You do scroll over to the right, and you can view the saved ones. These are the ones that I selected, so the ones that you check, and you can do them one box at a time, or you can select the entire page. You can get to those. Those are always going to be saved. If you come back here, though, in the future, you want basically an update, you can rerun the search, and it's going to add new publications as well based on your topic and what other filters you've applied. So in our case, we had a few filters we applied, so you always get those. If you set up an alert, it's going to show you here. Here it's a slash through it. You can always set up an alert here as well. You can see it's changed that. And you can even view those that you've looked at and those that you did not look at. So we've got alerts set. And when it finds some answers, it's going to actually show that. And a lot of these are more recent. Here's one. And it'll show you the results there, and you can view those, of course. But also, it'll send you an email automatically that will have your results. You click on the title, it takes you directly to the results. Okay, so that's an option you have. Also down here, you can combine save answer sets. Essentially, you would save both sets that you want to combine. And you have a couple options for doing that. You, of course, the type of information, and then you can add, intersect, or subtract those that you like. Also, if it's the first time you're into SciFinder-n, you want to migrate your alert and any saved answer set from SciFinder Classic, here's where you do it. You do a left click on Migrate, and that will move those all over into SciFinder-n, at which point the updates are going to be running, the alerts are going to be running in SciFinder-n. And you can move them to Classic at that point if you like. Another way to get to the home page is to click on the icon. So up here, a left click will take me back to the front page. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and shift into substances for the rest of the session today. So substances, of course, you could type in a substance name or CAS registry number. I'm going to type in a fragrance that I discovered looking at some displays. Tonalite, I guess. I'm going to go ahead and search that. In this case, it actually came across an alternative registry number, so there's a less preferred registry number. So if you actually search a less preferred registry number, like you see here, it will point you to the preferred number. You can see this one has no references. So most likely this was added because of a regulatory list. I'll use that particular number. But over here, we're going to take a look at this one. This is the one that has all the references. If I want to look at the substance detail, I click on the registry number. Here we see some common properties. And we can look at other names that are associated with this particular substance. There's a few. And we've also added smile strings here as well. So if you have a need for a smile string, you can basically copy and paste it from here. There may be additional experimental properties. So, for example, thermal properties, a boiling point, experimental spectra, NMR, IR, mass X. In this case, we are licensing this information from another source. There's a nice IR you can use for comparison purposes. You also have calculated or predicted properties available and regulatory information. So this is where you would be able to display various information from national inventories, international inventories. You get the details here. They include harmonized tariff codes. The European Union includes, of course, REACH status and the older INEX list as well. Includes some community regulations been reported for a substance, whereas other countries included in also the U.S. is it on the topic inventory and other environmental rules that might have been reported for this particular compound. So nice, easy access to regulatory information. For this substance, I can get you references, reactions, or suppliers as well. Quick, easy way of doing that. And in fact, if I click on the structure, it blows up the structure. In fact, that works in any case where a structure displays. It's a nice way to blow it up, make it a little easier. But it also adds some additional capabilities, including the ability to load this structure into the structure editor. So I would click here where it says Edit Structure, a left click, and it puts it into the CAS Draw editor. We've also added another structure editor that will be better on a tablet or touch screen to use here called ChemDoodle. Otherwise, you can stick the CAS Draw. You can import structures from ChemDraw if you like. You can save them as a mole file. And in fact, the most recent versions, the professional versions, 18.2 and higher, actually have a SciFinder-n link that will take you into substance or reaction searching. You can also export a structure if you want to save it for a future session as well. And then all these tools are similar to what you're used to from SciFinder Classic, where you have the periodic table, you have shortcuts that we've predefined for you. We have variables where you can task somewhere and control substitution. So maybe I just only want an alkyl group at that position. I can do that. If I decide later I really don't, the undo is really handy to know. And of course, I can build an R group that consists of various selections, up to 20 options off the list. You do repeating groups or attachments to a ring system. You got the ring blocking tools. You want to block this for substitution. It's not going to be a fusion anywhere. Or you can lock down a particular point. And again, I can just remove those as well. You can also launch reactions here. So I want to do a reaction search with maybe this is a product. I can add the arrow there if I like. Go ahead and click on OK. That loads the structure here. Pause this for a second because what's happening is you have a lot of different options. So if I go ahead and click on the search button, it's listed as substances here, so it's going to run a structured search. We'll do that in a moment. If I see there's a drop-down menu, in fact, I could run this structure against all the databases. Using all, I could run and find reactions on the substance. I can find references associated with it or supplier information. It's all available up here just by dropping it down in the menu. And I might also notice here, if I check this box, I could run a Marcouche structure search on this particular compound as well. Okay? So you have a lot of different options. Let's go ahead and run a structure search in registry, the CAS registry database. So in this case, it actually runs all types of searches. So as drawn, I have a few here, just 8 options. So that means no additional substitution. And these are now also sorted in relevance order. So the closest match is at the top. And then we're going to see some others that there isn't going to be any additional attachments, but there could be stereos. So we're seeing some stereoisomers here, a stereo center there. There could be multi-components. There could be other labeling, like isotopical labeling here, deuterium, tritium. And if there weren't any multiple components, we would see those, but we're not. You, of course, can also look at substructures where there is additional substitution. To include those original 8 and more. You scroll down, you start to see some substitution here or some additional variation. Here we have a methyl group attached, a methyl group here. And we also have similarity searching, thinking outside of the box. It runs the similarity search, then gives you options for comparison. To look for something a little bit different, you can get into the lower percent similarity. We also have access to commercial availability. So these would be those you can find in suppliers, reaction roles, reference roles, so additional indexing we add on the substance. So if you want to find example uses, you can look for that role and cross this over and find those references. There's a stereochemistry filter now, so you can filter down to those that have stereo or don't have stereo. And we've also added a number of components. Interestingly, this particular compound has no multi-component. Go back up to substructure. See that? Yeah, okay, just most of them are single component. There is one that has 2. That's particularly handy if you do a lot of polymer searching. So like a lot of the companies I work with use polymers, so in this case, it doesn't matter so much. There is the substance class. Again, just a couple options here. I can remove those that have isotopical labeling. We've actually added the ability to search by molecular weight now, so you can put in a specified range. Actually shows you the available range here. Or I could filter down based on those that have a particular property or experimental spectra, or they have availability. In the pharmaceutical area, we also have bioactivity indicators. You can do that as well. In all cases, if I like, I can select individual substances, or I can go and get references for all of them. Same thing for reactions and supplier information. And the same download, sharing, and save options that we looked at earlier are available here as well. Okay. There's some sorting options, including relevance by the bulk. Again, very similar to classic. You can sort by molecular weight, or you can sort by registry numbers, or number of references or suppliers. All are still available to you. Okay, another option you have, we mentioned earlier, is you can run a simultaneous text and structure search. I'm going to do a search for citric acid. All right, so I'm going to select that, add it to the structure window, and click on OK. So you can see very quickly I can load that and make it available. I'm going to switch this to references, and I'm going to type in flavoring. We'll see the drop-down menu is there. So eventually I'm going to see flavoring. I can pick it from the list. So, down here. Now what's going to happen is I'm going to get a reference answer set. Reference answer set is going to have the text term I searched along with the associated substances. And then we can view those substances. I'll load it into a tab. So right-click. And it takes it up here. And of course, citric acid is going to be there. And of course, in all cases, I'm seeing flavorings included. You know, that's one of our concepts. You can see flavor and flavoring materials. And then I can focus that down. It'd be a nice, quick, easy way to get into a targeted a structure search if you like. You can also add in a registry number, of course. I'm going to put in a registry number for a compound. And this is a fragrance you might be familiar with called cashmere. I guess it's a musk odor is what I'm reading. So I could take this structure, and if I want, I could run a Marcouche structure search on it. And I could very quickly load it into the editor here. Click, check the box, Marcouche structure. And now what you're seeing are the actual structures. So just a few additional records that may not have been obtained by the structure search. We're now at Marcouche representation here. All cases you can see where they're located in the original document. You can go use Patent Pack to go view that if you like. That's available. You can select something less than the entire set. You also have a nice filter here to focus down by patent office. In all cases, if you do select some, you have the choice of searching for all the results or selected results. And that will now take you into the references, where you can, of course, view additional information. For reactions, you can actually get right into reactions here. So a nice option you do have is you can type in a name or a registry number and go back into look for on a light. So we'll look for this particular substance anywhere in the reaction. In case it shows up as a product or reactant. So you can select what might be of interest. Go ahead and look at reactants for a moment. Here we can see the reaction for that. So a quick, easy way to get into it. Here we do have experimental procedures. These are the old ones that we had in Classic, where we went into the original document, in this case, a patent. Just copied out a block of text here. Those are still available. In other cases, we're going to have access to those that are available through methods now synthesis. So just to show you a way to get these, I'm going to pick a patent number. And I'm going to search a patent number. So could not do this on Classic. I'm searching for a patent number to identify reactions within that patent number. Take you a few steps to do that until I find a Classic. Now I have the 15 reactions that were associated with that particular patent. In all cases, again, that has additional information that's available for you. You, of course, can also search a patent number under references. And I can view the subs again by putting them up into a tab up here. Now what I was going to do is take a look at a particular compound as maybe a basis for a reaction search. So as I'm scrolling through here, I see sort of a framework with a common constituent in this position. And you can see that kind of flows down here. So I'm going to go ahead and grab this particular structure. I'm going to get reaction information on it. You see a lot of ways to get into reaction information without having to build the structure, although if you like, you can build a structure with the starting material and the product and designate those if you like. In this case, this is an example where I can show you method now synthesis. Still be under experimental protocols. To contrast this with the earlier example where the block of text extracted from the patent, we now see all the participants clearly displayed. They're also in a templated form with a step-by-step procedure, as we see here. Description of the transformation, and in many cases also characterization data. So you now have unlimited access to the methods now synthesis for these as well. The arrow will take me back to those reactions as well. Now, I can always run a retrosynthesis on any of these. So Tunnelite's actually a fairly simple retrosynthesis, so I'm going to go ahead and grab another patent number. You see I do a lot of this. I'll search by a patent number. I'll load my substances into another tab. They typically show up right there. I could view those particular substances. And I'm going to look for something of interest. Again, a common starting framework maybe. I can grab this. And in fact, I'm going to run a retrosynthesis on this. So this is a compound I want as a product. I can see it is available as a preparation in 12 reactions. There's also 19 reactions reported on it. But I'm going to see if there's any preferred approach for this particular reaction. So actually a two-step process for retrosynthesis. The first step is the experimental retrosynthesis, as we call. This would be a known reactions, ones that show up in our reaction database. You kind of see it here. Some are more complex, kind of the typical one. You can see some information about the reaction plan here, including an estimated yield, overall price based on supplier information. This is all based on 100 grams of production in this particular compound. Any case you see a Erlenmeyer flask, you can view alternate. Meanwhile, while I was doing that, the second part of this completed, which is the predicted step. View those a little later. So you see the Erlenmeyer flask here, you can view some alternatives. In this case, there actually aren't any. So this has got the experimental, and the evidence is going to be basically known reactions, and you can view those. They're going to show up here, just like we saw earlier for reaction information. Otherwise, I can get back to the alternative steps. Now, in this case, I haven't seen any alternatives, so it's a little disappointing, but I still have my predicted steps, so I can turn those on. Now, if I go back down here again, I have a lot more options. So I have the one, of course, I had earlier. I also have predicted steps now to look at. And I can scroll through these, and maybe I find something that I like a little better than an original option. I'll go ahead and select that. And that, of course, changes my reaction scheme. You can kind of see the difference between the predicted steps. It's going to be this dotted line in this green color. And you're going to see the known portion or experimental portion, the solid line in this violet color. They always have that option. Now, there also are some options for adjusting the scoring, as we call it. So whether we're talking about the complexity of the reaction, convergence of starting materials to the product, known reactions, the calculated yield, or the conservation of atoms from the starting materials to the product. You can adjust these, bringing these up or down. These actually work pretty quickly, and they'll change your reaction scheme pretty fast on the fly. That's just an introduction to that. In all cases, you do have a feedback button in many locations throughout SciFinder-n, so you can always use that. And as I mentioned, you also have history. So you can see the history, what we've done for this entire session. In all cases, you can rerun the search for structures. You can load those and edit the structures if you prefer, change the type of search you're running. You can also filter down by the type of searches up here. And you can also use the date range here or even this calendar of dates when you run searches. So every place where there's a dot with a day I did a SciFinder search. So you can go back a few months back, and maybe find those days where you ran your last search, and whenever it was, you can pull it back in, and you would just rerun the search with one click like that. A nice feature to have. All right, so up here is your profile information. There's also what's new. The dot there's some kind of change here. What's new. You can view that if you like. You can also get access to, of course, additional help. You have the interactive help in here as well. Go back up here. There. And table of contents on the left-hand side. This is also another place you can get to our webinars. They're listed here. And that's essentially it. So if there's any questions, feel free to unmute yourself or type in the chat. Be happy to answer those for you.
Hi, I have one quick question. I noticed that at the login, the web login interface, you can select between SciFinder-n, I guess what you call the classic, and there's some other options. Is there any reason to log into the classic from this point forward? Is there any functions that aren't in? Is it more about like user comfort level, or are there any functions that are in the classic that really aren't in the N?
At this point, there really aren't any features in SciFinder Classic you can't really do in SciFinder-n. Of course, SciFinder-n, as you saw, had many new enhancements and capabilities. We strongly encourage everyone to move over to SciFinder-n. You will have access for some period of time to both, but then at some point, the Classic platform will be dropped. So, again, a good reason to switch over to SciFinder-n. I don't know, Lauren, if you want to comment on how long they have access to SciFinder Classic. See her, she's not responding, but yeah, so we can get that information to you. But yeah, we just strongly encourage you to move over to SciFinder-n at this point.
Hey, John, this is Lauren Eider. Sorry, I had myself on mute. The account manager is Philippe, so I'll have to check with Philippe and get back to him. So he'll probably communicate that through Andreas, and let everyone that Givaudan know. You'll have a heads up notice before it deactivates Classic access.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, so usually it's a period of time, a few months, but then you like to close down the Classic platform, get everybody on a single platform, so that will happen. Any other questions? Okay, as I mentioned earlier, we did record this session. I'll have a link here. It usually takes an hour or two to get the link. We can share it with your key contacts. So if you have any colleagues that have missed this and might be interested in observing it, they can have access to that, as well as the public webinars I pointed to. Encourage you to go out there, take a look at what's available, running them multiple times a month now. So there's a few more being scheduled through the end of this year as well. And they're at multiple times, so you might find a more convenient time if you're based in Europe or than here in the US. So we do offer them in 4 times during the day. So appreciate you joining those as well. So at this point, I thank you for your attention, and we'll go ahead and end the session.
Thank you all. Thank you, John. Take care.
Thank you.
You're welcome.